That's Mick. She's Candace. I'm Gerard, and this is Canceled Weekly. This week, we are talking about Jordan Peterson, Jocko Willink. We've got Bill Maher, and right now, Abigail Shrier on the Joe Rogan podcast.
So the teenage girl part. So this you're talking about teenage girls that are susceptible to influence? Or are you talking about teenage girls that are confused? Like, why are there so many teenage girls that are going in this direction? Like, what do you think is happening?
So these are the same girls that would have been anorexic, they would have been bulimic, and they are high anxiety, very precocious girls, but they don't really fit in. They come to high school and they don't have friends, they don't have a clique for them. And they're so smart and they're so lonely because they're on the internet all the time and they're with mom all the time and they don't fit in at school. And this is a way to understand their pain that they're really feeling. They're in pain, but they decide that their problem is that they're supposed to be a boy and the fix is testosterone.
So we're talking about transitioning at a younger age. What are your thoughts on this, Candace?
I think if you can't buy a pack of cigarettes, if you can't get a tattoo, if you can't consent to sex, there's very good reasons for all of those. Your brain is not done. Those are all very big decisions to make that have lifelong consequences, that I would assume that destroying your fertility by like mangling up your body, increasing your risks for cancer at like a massive amount, because of all those hormones. We have no idea what pumping that amount of testosterone into a female body does long term. There are studies that say it does increase brain cancer. I don't think that someone with an underdeveloped brain, especially if they have some mental distress or a disorder, is in a position to be making a life-altering decision.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting, the correlation between the people that are transitioning now to the people that may be cutting themselves or anorexic or bulimic. What are your thoughts on that, Mick?
I thought Candace said it perfectly. I think, we have these age requirements for reasons. It's to protect the kids from themselves or from things that they believe at that time. Sometimes you need more time to really figure yourself out and figure the world out, figure things out. I think it's absolutely crazy when they're giving, hormones and cutting kids at these young ages. It's batshit crazy to me. Mm-hmm. You can't buy cigarettes. Well, I really want some cigarettes. Well, you can't have it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like I'm sorry. Just wait it out.
Mm-hmm. Trust me, I'll be able to do it.
Look,
Trust
me. Just wait. And if you turn 18 or you turn 21 or whatever, and that's something you still want, then God bless you. Go live your life, live your truth. But I just think in order to protect the youth, they shouldn't be. They're doing it at crazy young ages. Like some people are talking like single digits.
So there was
2 years old.
There was this thing happening. It was I believe it was UNC Chapel Hill. I think it was also Duke, and they had made an announcement that their department starts as early as 2 years old.
It's fucking stupid.
Which is bananas, and especially anyone who has a parent who is anywhat grounded in reality understands if you let your 2-year-old make any decision, it's usually going to lead to like some kind of injury, possibly death. Like today, for example, at the pool, my 3.5-year-old was like, I was like, let's get up, I have to use the restroom. And he's like, oh, it's fine, just leave me here. I'll just stay on the stairs. I'll stay on the stairs in the pool. You go to the bathroom. You can trust me. Oh, okay, he's 3. He knows himself. He knows his truth. And then I come back and I'm not going to have a 3-year-old. Like, let's be fucking honest.
Yeah, the 3-year-old identifies as a volleyball.
As a swimmer. He identifies as someone who's capable of swimming.
The overwhelming majority of people I meet all across the country feel this way. This is the way that both of you feel is the prevailing thought on this. Is who thinks this is a good idea? Yet somehow the institutions continue.
You need to go to a PTA meeting because it's not the same.
Is that right?
No, and I have been the one that has set up meetings because I'm like, what are you teaching my kid? He is nowhere to be in the classroom. Like if you're doing anything gender based, that's not for you. That's for me to teach.
That's 3 years old.
They start earlier. So I had the meeting last year while he was at school, and I say school, it's a half-day Montessori program, but we had everyone sit down. We were all talking about it, and you could tell who in the school, like which teachers or which administrators were looking at my husband and I like, oh, they're the ones that are crazy.
Really? And the Corey DeAngelis exposed that the teachers' unions were, well, I guess teaching would be the right word. They were coaching up their teachers on how to hide this curriculum from the parents. And also, I believe a few different states have made it a law where if a kid goes to a teacher or a principal or administrator or guidance counselor and says they want to transition, the school does not have to notify the parent.
Which is nuts, because if you look at the rates of suicide or suicide attempts with anyone that identifies as trans, it's skyrocketed compared to a heteronormative person. So if you know that this child's life is in danger, and we are not talking about why, right? Like, you can argue both sides until this, the cows come home. That's not what I'm saying. But if you know that that risk is there, it is your duty to tell the parent for the livelihood of the child. And to automatically assume that the parent is going to be abusive or not accepting or not want the best is insane, because if you suspect abuse, it is your obligation to report the abuse. So that's not the reason that they're not telling parents.
Yeah, I always thought that was really a weak argument. You see that all over Twitter too, where I think actually it was Senator Lee, a Democratic congressman from California, tweeted out that if the kid is not coming out to their parents, there's a reason for that, and basically blame the parents. And I'm like, well, yeah, I take it back to like drugs and all, like everything bad that I ever did through middle school and high school, I tried to keep from my parents. Literally everything I shouldn't have been doing, sneaking out, doing this, whatever, I'm trying to keep it from them. And then, yeah, it's this is part of growing up, is you get caught, and then hopefully they can stem the tide before something really terribly life-changing happens. I think the most poignant thing about what Abigail Schreier said, though, and I don't know if it was in this clip, but in the podcast itself, the big difference is those girls that cut and those girls that were bulimic, the guys that cut themselves, as bad as that is and as traumatic as that is, you'll recover from that. You'll make a full recovery.
Well, the cutting thing is scary.
It's scary.
But if you go too, like if they were to go too deep, like there's still a huge risk that they die.
Right. But yeah, but not as, crazy as cutting off their genitals.
Even if you don't get to the cutting it off part, if you take hormones in puberty, if you take puberty blockers, if you try to change your body's composition.
Well, there's osteoporosis too. So they use Lupron for a lot of the girls that are transitioning, and then like the side effect list of that is insane and includes increased risk of cancer and osteoporosis, loss of bone density. You go on and on. It basically puts you into early menopause, and then we all know that that's not good for longevity either.
And you've been around groups of adults who think that this is the right direction to move in.
One of the books on the reading list for the kids, it's not for the super, super littles, but it's still for kids because it only goes up to middle school where he's at, was something like Penelope Was Always a Girl or something like that. And it's about a child transitioning. And to me, that's bananas, because no one's decided. Like, it's still a very alive topic for a lot of people. And no one is like,
what the hell ever happened to C Spot Run? Like, what if we... How did whatever you want to call it, the postmodernist politics, neo-Marxism, how did this all get into preschool?
Because you can weaponize compassion, right? So women, we want to make sure no one is hurting. Like, no one is hurting, right? So I can force you through coercion, I can force you with force, so violence, and I can force you with compassion. And it's like, you must not have enough empathy or compassion for your fellow mankind or for these children. If you really loved these children, and this is an argument that a lot of really sick doctors will say, is would you rather have a dead son or an alive daughter? And that is disgusting, because we don't know why anyone takes their life, right? Obviously that is a tragedy no matter what, but to like weaponize that with a parent when there's no like scientific evidence as to the cause of that is insane to me. It's not backed in science, it's backed in ideology. So we know that women, we will do anything for our kids, you know what I mean? Like, I want to feel all of your pain so you feel none. And I think that makes us very vulnerable if we lead with just blind compassion instead of discernment.
Yeah, I think the weaponized compassion, the weaponized empathy is such a problem with this whole woke movement. It's, you know, it's taking advantage of your good nature, and it's taking it way too fucking far.
They found a play that works and they keep running it.
Yeah, jamming it down your
They're
fucking
just jamming
throat.
it down, you know. And so now the question becomes, what do we do? What is the anecdote for this in your mind, Candace? Is
Back to
everybody?
reality.
Are we all going homeschool? What do we do here?
So right now, I love the teachers that he's with. We are very present. We have probably a lot of meetings, but I want them to know I'm very involved.
You're active.
Parent, very
So
active.
what is a Montessori school?
It's self-led. Montessori in and of itself is amazing. Like it builds
Yeah.
a lot of confidence. It's there's no authority in it, so you don't just say Mr., Mrs. It's teachers have like a first name because they're a person, right? So it's not that you bow down to authority just because I'm
It's
older
not
than
I
you.
have to raise my hand and
No.
ask permission to go take a piss.
Nope.
and-
You go pee if you have to pee. You eat when you want to eat. You study what you want to study as long as you get everything done. So if
Now,
you want to focus on math, you get to focus on math. There's no desks if you don't want desks, especially for boys. That's super important because boys are very mobile.
100%. I thought school was not good for me. I didn't think I was meant to be stuffed in a desk where
No
I have to
one
raise
is.
my hand and all that shit all day. Like I've heard and I believe it could
meant
be
to tame
it could
you.
be yeah. They're trying. It's based on the Prussian what's it called the military system.
military, yeah.
And they're trying to tame you, break you into worker bees, so you go work for them.
So you're a good
You
citizen.
know, yeah, exactly. Be a good boy. You know what I mean? I heard, and I could be Montessori, but that schools like that, where they don't force anything down your throat, they let you show a genuine interest. And then when a kid shows an interest in that, let's say like you and me, maybe we show an interest in wars and like in history and stuff like that. They could teach you in 1 year what it would take 10 years for you to actually learn. Because you're genuinely interested. You know what I mean? Instead of forcing you to read this, we're doing this now, art, we're doing that. It allows the kid to, I've also heard that when they let the kid almost be the teacher and the teacher be the student, where the teacher's like, the kid's like, well, I think about this, this, and this. And the teacher's like, well, why do you think that way? And then the kid says
Is that
why he feels
the Platonic or
Socratic.
the Socratic?
That's what we're
yeah, the
trying to
Socratic method?
start locally is a Socratic school.
I think that shit's great.
It's amazing, yeah. So it's like how to think, not what to think, which is so
I think
crucial.
Napoleon Hill might have spoke about that in one of his books, and how that's really
Outwitting the Devil. He talks
Yes.
about education. That is
Yeah.
my favorite book of all time.
Yeah.
Of all time.
I like Think and Grow Rich of his even more, but I love Outwitting the Devil as well. We read that and gave a little book report on Slick and
Yeah,
Thick.
my only issue with Outwitting the Devil is the devil is the devil because of his ambition, and the whole book is about the only way to outwit the devil is to have ambition. But outside of that, it's good.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario. Anyway. Anyway, speaking of people who are always looking at a worst case scenario, the wonderful Professor Jordan Peterson is going to regale us with a tale.
You said recently that a mother's ability to let her child go out into the world, knowing that they're still vulnerable and that it's now down to them and the world to look after them, that's one of the bravest things that they
It's
can
the
do.
female crucifixion.
That's what I
So,
meant.
and that's exemplified best in, well, the best portrayal of that I've seen is Michelangelo's Pieta. It's a statue of Mary, and she has Christ's body on her, as an adult, on her lap, and
Yep.
he's broken and destroyed, and, she's displaying that. And that's the bravery of a mother to allow that to happen, but not only that, to facilitate it. Facilitate it.
So what about
Away
from
you
the-
go, kid. Away you go. Away you go. Well, why? It's dangerous out there. It's like, yeah, no kidding. It's more dangerous here if you stay with me by a lot. So you might lose your body out there in the world, but if you stay here, you lose your soul.
That gets me every time.
Yeah, I wanted to throw it to
Oh
you
my
right away
God,
as a mother.
It is like the most beautiful and like heartbreaking depiction of what it means to be a good mom. And there's been like countless, versions of how do you raise men, right? And like what do you need to do, and what is it your obligation as a father to raise a man, and how does a woman raise a man, a mother raise a man? And to me, it's so emotional because it's so honest, and we know how risky the world is, and we know that you can go get hurt, and boys are risk takers. Like, you guys are wild men. And if I don't allow you to be that wild man, if I coddle you, if I wrap you in bubble tape, if I don't like let you go, if I don't force you out of the door, then yeah, I can make sure you're alive. I can make sure you're alive well into, you know, as long as I'm here, I can protect you if you never leave my grip.
What kind of life is that?
But like, I'm stealing away your soul. I'm stealing away your essence. I'm stealing away your purpose. And it's, I don't know, it's like the most beautiful sacrifice you can do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's tough. It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yeah, I remember watching Passion of the Christ with my mom. I must have been like 8. Like, I think I was like a little too young to watch it. Christian, pull up when that movie came out. But I remember my mom, like, when they were walking like Christ, the thing, like crying and like almost wanting to cover my eyes, but like I remember like her like almost going to like put her hand in front of like my eyes, but then like taking it away.
2004.
So it was almost, yeah. So I was like, yeah, what was I? Something like, no, I was a little older than 8. But yeah, I just remember her doing that and like being, you know, almost like that same thing where it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, should I expose to this? Like, should he see that? But you know what I mean? And also going through that as a mother.
Mm-hmm.
Watch people get dropped off at college. Watch how the dads act and watch how the mothers act.
Well, I was just talking to someone who did that, and the dad was having a harder time than the mother.
Well, that's, you know,
It was
times
a
are
daughter
changing,
being
maybe.
dropped off too.
Well,
but-
that's a whole
and I
different
feel like
thing. That's a whole different
makes
thing.
it a little, you know, moms and their boys and
I'm dropping
fathers and their girls.
I'm dropping my daughter off at fuck camp. I'm crying too. See you in 4 years, honey.
Fuck camp.
So but your son, your dad's like, you're gonna enjoy this. It's the best 4 years of your life, buddy.
Yeah.
You know, you get that man handshake for the first time, and your mom's all crying. Make sure you come home whenever you want. And your dad's like, don't come home that often.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're like, come on, man. There is something to it. There is something to almost that, like when you're a teenage boy and you start feeling yourself and becoming a man, you start saying to yourself and doing things where your mom doesn't like this. My mom doesn't like me playing football. Yeah, I'm doing it. And that's like little by little, you're starting to flap those wings a little bit and you start moving your way out. And, you know, the world can be scary, but oddly enough, it's scarier for your mom. Your mom cares more about you than you do. And like, so
Only God and my
mama
mama know what I need.
That's right. And the you know, so look, if I get hurt playing football, I signed up for it. If I get hurt fighting, I signed up for
my
it.
mom's been at I think all my UFC fights, all my fights, my whole career.
My
My
mom
mom's had to
couldn't do
watch them. Well, yeah, watch me get over 50 stitches in my face in front of screaming people, screaming for more of my blood. Yeah, fuck yeah.
She's batty.
Yeah.
Well, she was an
Tough,
athlete.
yo.
Well, the difference is she was an athlete, though.
Yeah.
She was a high-level athlete. That's a different mindset.
Right. Yeah, no, she'll be there like just standing there like, don't, you know what I mean? She's tough. They're tough, but at the same time, and credit to them because I know that's got to be some people's like worst nightmare. Like, could you imagine one of your little boys having to walk inside a cage and go, you know what I mean?
Something
a trained
very
killer try and kill him. He gonna try and kill him. But my mom's like, hey, he's living his dreams. He's doing what he likes. He enjoys it. He's happy, doing good things. She's proud of me, and but at the same time, I feel almost like at times I could almost feel guilty towards my family. You know what I mean? Where it's like I'm subjecting them to this, but I'm just living my truth. I'm doing what I like, and you know what I mean? I'm living my life the way I want to live it. I remember I was at a Thanksgiving, and I was like, damn, these people saw me get fucking punched in the face a whole lot of times, and they're and I almost like I felt selfish, you know. But you know, I've always had like really good support.
I think something changes chemically within women. It has to. When I coached teenagers, little kids, like completely reasonable people, awesome human beings that you would meet, very successful people who are like, wow, this guy's awesome. Then you coach their kids, and you do something that they don't like, or they think that you're picking on their kid, or you think they're being unfair to their kid, and man, it's like there's no reasoning with them. There's no like ability to show them mathematically, like, no, man, like your kid's batting $182. He's got a bad last. Like that's. You can't. Well, if you just showed him a little more, if you showed that you believed in him more, he's got to earn it. It's not fair to the other kids that they get taken out. Like it's, and having that conversation, they lose all ability to be reasonable Some of them, not all of them, but they lose all ability to be reasonable when it comes to their baby.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Dads, it doesn't seem to be as bad. It doesn't seem to be. You know, a lot of times I can tell when the wife has chewed the dad's ear off and to finally come talk to the coach. It's like, listen, man, I got to talk to you about my kid's playing time here.
Like he's almost like apprehensively,
Yeah,
regretfully
he's like, I don't wanna do
delivering this message.
I don't want to do this, but
Hey,
I just...
the kid's mom wants to see him bat third.
Yeah, you know, yeah, and how many times like I've had, you know, a mom. It's always like one come up to me and be like, on his other team, he bats third and plays shortstop. I'm like, sounds like he's got a good place to play.
Yeah.
Go there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to tell you because he makes an error every time the ball's hit to him here, and you know. But also, I guess, you know, that there's that whole idea behind, you know, treat a man as he is and he'll be what he is. Treat a man as he should be and he'll become what. Treat a man as he could be and he'll become what he should be. So that's, you know, there's part of that coaching too. I get it. But then there's part of like with the kids growing, it's like you got to make them earn it. They got to earn it. You know, it can't be handed to them, you know. But it's harder on.
No, they won't appreciate it even if it's handed to them.
But it's harder on the parents to sit there and watch it than it is on the kid to even go through it. The kid almost always gets it. The kid gets it.
Nah.
You know.
Well, you're the only parent here, Candace.
I don't.
You have thoughts? I know your
Yeah,
boys are little, but
They're still young. I think it's more of kind of like rites of passage and not making everything so easy. Iron John, I don't know if either of you ever read that by Robert Bly, but he was kind of like Peterson before Peterson existed.
I looked at the Wikipedia after you mentioned it 3 times in our first interview.
It's so good. He's so good. But it's the
you're
idea.
such an intellectual. People don't know. You're such a fucking intellectual. You know a lot, girl.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
It's facts.
One part of the book that I think resonates, and it kind of relates to this clip, is that the key to a young man's manhood, like to his wild man, lays under his mother's pillow. And it's the idea that she has to let him feel pain. She has to let him risk his life. She has to let him live. And if she's holding that key, he can never unlock his potential. So you have to basically consciously, as a mom, sever that relationship. And we used to do that with rites of passage. So quite literally, the mom and the dad would take the son and hand the son over to other people, like the other men of the tribe, and then they would go do something that would literally risk the kid's life. Now, some people do psychedelics now, and like that's like because you have your quote ego death, and then that's a safer way to do a really intense rite of passage. There's Sacred Sons that has a program, so there are ways to still incorporate this in modernity, but it's that we don't want our kids getting a scrape. We want them to, be the star of the basketball team, baseball team, whatever it is. You have to let them feel pain.
You're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Because, if you're a helicopter parent, you're doing it wrong. But if you just hand the kid off to the other people in the tribe, then Eminem sings about how much you suck for 4 albums, So it's like, you can't win.
Well, you give your kid to someone that you trust, right? Like family. So if it's not just anybody, it would be like your best friend, your father, your uncle, like just like his masculine tribe, not just to anybody. And you trust them to help him figure it out and to step into manhood and say goodbye to boyhood, or young man, because right, it's still different.
Yeah, and it does feel different when it's a daughter, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's a very different ritual, you know what I mean? And what they would do is red tents for young women. So when young women would start menstruating, they would have all of the women, like all of the elders there. And it was like this very sacred, very honored thing. And they say that you were closest to God during that part of your cycle, that it's like a time for you to like meditate, pray, go inward, not make decisions. So they would look at women that were bleeding, and they would be the ones that were the closest into communication with God. So it wasn't like this gross thing. It was like, no, that's so beautiful and divine.
Yeah, that's probably just what they told them. But it was really, that's the red tent. Fucking stay away for a couple of days, man. Like, let's.
Yeah, that's what is that?
Quarantine.
Quarantine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking about manhood,
Yes?
this next clip, I don't think anyone is more masculine than the one and only Jocko Willink.
This is something that one of my direct subordinates, one of the guys who worked for me, a guy who became one of my best friends, pointed out. He'd pull me aside with some major problem or some issue that was going on, and he'd say, "Boss, we got this thing, this situation, and it's going terribly wrong." I would look at him and I'd say, "Good." Then finally, one day he was telling me about something that was going off the rails, and as soon as he finished explaining it to me, he said, I already know what you're going to say. And I asked, what am I going to say? And he said, you're going to say, good. And he continued, that's what you always say. When something is wrong or going bad, you just look at me and say, good. And I say, well, I mean it. Because that is how I operate. So I explained to him that when things are going bad, there's going to be some good that will come from it. Oh, mission got canceled? Good. We can focus on another one. Didn't get the new high-speed gear we wanted? Good. We can keep it simple. Didn't get promoted? Good. More time to get better. Didn't get funded? Good. We own more of the company. Didn't get the job you wanted? Good. Go out, gain more experience, build a better resume. Got injured? Good. Needed a break from training. Got tapped out? Good. It's better to tap out in training than to tap out on the street. Got beat? Good. We learned. Unexpected problems? Good. We have an opportunity to figure out a solution. That's it. When things are going bad, don't get all bummed out, don't get startled, don't get frustrated. No. Just look at the issue and say, good. If you can say the word good, then guess what? It means you're still alive. It means you're still breathing. And if you're still breathing, that means you've still got some fight left in you. So get up, dust off, reload, recalibrate, re-engage, and go out on the attack.
Fuck yeah.
Right? That is sexy.
Fuck yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That, every single warm-blooded woman, it doesn't get better than that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Could have done without the pulsating vagina hole in the middle of the video.
Yeah, I thought it was like an alligator eye or
But,
whatever the fuck that was, but yeah.
But
Fuck
Maverick,
yeah.
that seemed to pump you up. Why don't you?
Fuck yeah. Fucking love it. Jocko Willink, he spit hot fire.
Spit hot fire.
That was fucking dope. Yeah, hell yeah. Everything is, I think we were talking about blessings in disguise before, you know? Every hardship you face, that's just an opportunity to level up, to, you know, step your game up, come back better. Like he was saying, re-engage. You know what I mean? Like, right back into that bitch, man. You keep it moving. You keep it moving. Got a problem? All right, handle it. Do the next best thing. Good. Bang. On to the next. Love it. Love it. Yeah, I just fucking love that. That's dope. You know what I mean? Shit, pump me up with the music in the background, too.
It's epic. Uh-huh.
Good.
So good.
Yeah, I think
Good.
that's
So good.
That's good recentering. That's like what I think. I feel like a good therapist would do something like that. I've had a lot of bad
That's
therapists.
a coach. A
That's
coach is going to do
That's
something.
what I was just
Yeah,
gonna
not
say.
a
Yeah,
therapist. That's
well,
a coach.
to me, a good
good-
therapist
yeah,
should
should be
do
one
it.
and
A
the
good
same.
therapist, if you're with the type of look, therapy isn't the same for every person, right? It shouldn't be like one size fits all, but it should be, because I personally, like me, I'm prone to self pity. I'm prone to you know, like, oh fuck this, or like, oh this is bullshit, or you know, whatever. Like, you know, you can go through these highs and these lows and get stuck in the valleys, you know, or ruin the peaks because you're anticipating a valley. Something like that's great. It's always about, the best part about that is kind of the future mentality. And I've spoken to you about this. We had Willink is a former SEAL, and we had a SEAL come to us in spring training. Is the best speech I had ever heard. We get all these, you know, motivational speakers, and the teams bring them in, and because everybody who runs the teams are corporate douchebags. They've never been a ball player or anything like that. They don't understand anything about how an athlete thinks. So they're like, we're gonna bring in this guy who gave this great speech to our sales staff last year and increased productivity. And every, you know, alpha athlete in that room is like, within 3 words of this guy's like, fuck off, jerk off. Yeah, but this, you know, Navy SEAL, this little dude came in. Normally these guys would come in with their suits and their slick back hair, and this dude came in with like a t-shirt, like a ragged t-shirt, cargo shorts, and like some flip-flops. He was like 5'7" or something like that. He's like, who here's heard that pain is weakness leaving the body? And we're like, yeah. He's like, yeah, that's bullshit. We're like, what? Like, pain is your body telling you you're doing something too much. Something's hurt. Stop. You know, who here has heard that if you're not working, somebody else is working? And we're like, yeah. He's like, yeah, that's bullshit. Like, nobody's working 24 hours a day. It's okay to take rest. Overwork is a thing. Like, we're like, what's going on with this guy? And then he finally got to his point. He was like, here's the thing. You can't convince yourself something that sucks doesn't suck. You can't lie to yourself. If you lie to yourself, you can only do it for so long, and then you'll quit.
Yeah.
You'll quit. You'll bail. You'll eventually get to a fuck this point. Don't lie to yourself and say, I'm not this, this doesn't suck. I just need to be better. And it's like, not to, the whole David Goggins thing, but his whole thing was, no, it sucks. Know it sucks and do it anyway.
Yeah, embrace the
suck. It sucks.
You don't feel better about it after.
It sucks getting up at 6 a.m. and going on a run. It sucks. Do it. And here's the thing. You want to be great. You can quit anytime you want. Mm-hmm. You just won't be great.
No one makes me
go
practice.
Home.
Yeah.
Nobody said you had to be a pro ball player. Go home. Quit. But then understand, nobody's going to think you're great because you didn't do anything to be great. Mm-hmm. When things suck, everybody quits.
Sure.
What makes you special, why we watch you do what you do, why you make the money you make, and why we give you the shiny toys at the end of the year is because you did the things we couldn't do or weren't willing to do. That's it. Don't tell yourself it doesn't suck. It sucks. Do it anyway. Know it sucks and do it anyway. And I'll tell you, man, like that was like, dude, the whole fucking organization was ready to run through a wall. We're like, yeah, it sucks. Let's go run sprints.
Yeah.
But it was so much different than the psychobabble bullshit coaches were shoving down our throat. Like, oh, you don't want it bad enough. You can't want it worse than we want it. We'll do anything to get what we want. No, this sucks, man. But do it anyway. Embrace the suck. That was, and I feel like what Will just said is along those same lines. Like, man, car breaks down. Well, I don't know. Like, I personally need to be better about that. My car breaks down and it's 3 minutes of motherfucking, and my heart pressure gets up and I can feel this.
You go to worst case pretty quickly.
Well, it's just like
I can't believe you said he was an optimist. At one point. It was the worst. You know what I mean? I was just saying how smart you are and what an intellectual you are. You're a little off on that one there, Candace.
The paranoid survive.
That's the thing too. We're talking about. I think it was last episode we were talking about the depression. I think there's also something to that with the paranoid, with the, you know what I mean, with having that something in you where if something's gonna be uncomfortable, you gotta, you know what I mean. You got to make a change. You got to push past these barriers. A lot of times that goal's right at the end. You know what I mean? It's right there. You just got to keep going.
It's a hard thing to tell yourself, though, that it's good when your car breaks down.
No, it sucks, but shit's going to suck. Not everything's going to be fucking rainbows and butterflies, man.
But you can change your baseline, right? And I'm sure everyone well, that's not true. Some people have changed that and have experienced that. So maybe your normal baseline for what you can remember is anger. Like the first thing is worst case scenario, you lose your temper, you flip over the table. Like that is your first gear that you're going into. And I think the more work that you do on yourself, and meditation is great for this, and just like introspection in general, is you can move that. So you can move from anger to maybe neutrality, to maybe just joy. And there's this really good thought exercise. It's in Letting Go by David Hawkins. And to kind of find your neutral, you would use a real life example like that. So let's say you get into a car accident. So what is your first reaction, thought? What's the first thing that you say is like, fuck you, blah, 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 you did this? Or is it, okay, well, where's my insurance card? Where's your insurance card? That's like another level up. Another level up would be like, are you okay? Are like you safe, right? And it's not even thinking about it ruining your day. It's not thinking about the money. It's not thinking about blame or fault. It's like, is everyone safe? And then those are like the different levels of kind of your conscious awareness and where you are. And it's totally possible, and everyone's met different people on this spectrum. It's like some people just are lighter, vibrating at a higher place, and that would be their reaction as they get into a car accident. It's like, is everyone safe? Are you okay? And it's not immediately like, fuck you, or oh my neck, I'm gonna sue you. There's those people too. And you can kind of work on yourself to whatever degree that you want to get where you want, but you shouldn't be settling at the latter and like the most low dense, unaware, conscious energy, which is blame and anger.
So then how do you reconcile that with nice guys finishing last?
I don't know that that's true. And here's a really good example. So we were just at dinner and Tucker Max was there, and that was kind of his approach, right? Is like
Tucker Max. That's
assholes finish first.
Beer in hell.
I hope they serve beer in hell. Assholes finish first.
I used to read those in middle school.
Yeah, so that was his mentality as like a young
was an
dude.
asshole.
And then now he's
Is he
married.
an asshole now?
Doesn't really talk to me. And we emailed once, so I don't know if he just doesn't like me or my life choices, but I mean,
He doesn't like your life choices?
I don't know.
I've read his books.
He wasn't very, like, he didn't care about me.
He was a total prick.
So-
He was a
But
total
has
fucking
Tucker
prick.
Max ever given the opinion that he ever cared about anybody other than Tucker Max? I feel
No,
like that's kind of
that's
his
what I'm
brand.
saying. That's his thing, yeah.
So like that was his brand, right? But now he has like farmland and he's married and he has kids and like he's living for his family. So his neutral has shifted, whether it's like at the
So now he's
highest
selfish for his
echelon,
family.
but he's providing and taking care of them, and it's very different than like the fuck boy, I'm just gonna never settle down, whatever. So you can change.
Sure.
Yeah.
Was there a bigger point that you had on him? I
what
think
was
I
it?
interrupted.
Yeah, shoot. Oh yeah. So he brought that up at dinner, and it was kind of like that concept of nice guys finish last, and I don't think that that's true anymore.
I think if you allow yourself pushovers finish last. If
For
you're
sure.
If you're too nice, yeah, you finish
There's
last.
nice and then there's pushover, right? Like I think they're very
and I think
different.
almost too nice is like a pushover. Too nice. Too of anything is not good. I think, and there's also the delineation between nice and kind. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
The world hardens you too. The more rejection you face, the more losses you take as you grow, it becomes easier to not be nice. So if that's something that you strive to be, or if that's like being on a higher vibration, I don't think it's something that really happens naturally. I think you have to really set out to try to achieve that.
But that's what we do. Like, we don't go into space naturally. We don't go to the bottoms of the ocean naturally, and we don't build skyscrapers naturally. We do hard things. Like, that's what humans do, is we do hard things. And we do more than what we have been evolved to do. So to say, oh, well, it's my natural reaction to be angry because, of course, my car just got wrecked, like, that's just lazy. And you're choosing not to engage with your potential.
You do hard things.
I do
He was
hard
waiting
things.
for that.
I was waiting, but I didn't want to cut her off. I used to think affirmations were
I guess
dumb.
I can't say.
I used to think affirmations were dumb.
I do hard things too.
Yes,
I
you do.
feel so good after I do hard things. I feel so accomplished after I do hard things.
You're also always talking about how sore you are after you do hard things.
sore after all the
Again.
hard
Sore.
things I do.
Another thing
The
we have in
parallels,
common.
the parallels. What are your thoughts on affirmations?
I think it's a very good stepping stone for some people because we are so self-critical. I think there's conflicting science. So Huberman says that it actually hurts you more than it helps you because that is giving you a reward. So if you're seeing like, I am beautiful, I am rich, I am wealthy, you're getting a reward just from looking at that sticky note. So it'll actually take away from your ambition and your drive and your movement
Like
forward.
those manifestations, like where you try and like feel like you already have something that you want.
Yeah.
Are you talking about?
Well, but then there's also that science, and Dr. Joe Dispenza does this, and it's been proven time and time and time again at his workshop. So if you do want to be able to create your reality, manifest,
Man, there must
you
be
have
so
to
many
feel
names
it.
in your brain. I don't know how you do that.
I say the same thing about both of you.
I think Dunbar's number just does not apply to you. You know Dunbar's number?
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
Of course he does. Of course he knows.
I'm sure it does. Like, there's plenty of stuff I don't
Horvath's
know.
number.
But yeah, so
What's your number?
are we doing numerology? I think I'm a 9.
22.
I have no idea.
That's my favorite number.
Somebody asks your number, that would be hilarious. If somebody asks for your number, you're like 9.
Like, what?
It's not going through.
You were saying between Joe Dispenza.
There's science that supports both claims. I think that Joe Dispenza has more positive case studies. Huberman is kind of just going off of lab reports, but there are actual people that have healed stage 4 cancers, that have manifested serious wealth, that have gotten jobs, whatever it is, and they've done that in his workshops, and it goes into believing you're a person worthy and capable of those things. And I don't think that there's anything bad that comes out of that so long as you take the action. It's not just,
Of course,
I
you
am
can't
going to
just-
be a billionaire and do nothing. It's like, I'm going to, like Jim Carrey's
You got to
story.
take action towards it.
Right. So he wrote himself a check for $10 million and put it in his wallet. And he's like, I am going to get this from a movie. But then he didn't just sit back and eat Cheetos. Like, he was auditioning, he was working, right? He was connecting, doing all the things he had to do. And then the mask happened and he got paid like $10 or $15 million. Like, boom. So yeah, you can say that's manifestation. And I think that there's an element of that, but there's also hard work. And you can't do one and not the other.
You have to take action
Right.
behind your manifestations. You
Right.
can't just sit back and hope and pray and wish.
For sure. And you
know,
can't
you gotta-
also just like barrel through things like a bull, because you're going to burn out. And if you feel that you're unworthy of it, they say that's why a lot of 99% of lottery winners lose all of the money. It's because they get it so quickly and they don't feel worthy of it. So their inner
they
dialogue.
didn't earn it?
Yeah, they didn't earn it. They're not smart enough. They're not good enough. They're not whatever that inner dialogue is. So then they blow it because they feel like that level is something that they're not deserving of. So I think you need both.
I wonder
Oh, yeah.
if how much of the idea of affirmations and manifestation is just a rebranding of prayer. The idea of praying at night, praying in the morning, as religion has become less centric to our culture.
It will, yeah, like the same
It's
way.
the same
if
thing.
if you're believing in, that God's gonna provide this for you. If you're
Ask and you shall
believing
receive.
in yourself to make it and get it in the universe too. Same things.
So something like with Jocko, is there something where you'd personally do to like keep that message at the top of your consciousness? Is there something that you do to center yourself?
So I'm really self-deprecating, and I just talk about how you need to be nicer to yourself, and I could really use my own advice. But I don't know, I tell myself not to be a bitch. So if I'm doing something and I don't want to do it, I was like, don't be a bitch. Don't be a bitch. Like, you can do hard things. So the more I don't want to do something, the more I'm like, I kind of call myself out for it, and then I like do it anyways. Yeah. But I'm really mean to myself.
You bully yourself into
Yeah.
positivity.
I know. I just need to have a
More
kinder
positive
approach.
self-talk. Yeah,
Yeah.
be kind to yourself, Candace.
Well, somebody who's not kind, and somebody who's not positive, and somebody who is a bitch is Bill Maher.
You don't like Bill Maher?
I love Bill Maher.
I do too.
See, I like bitches, and I don't need rainbows and butterflies. I live in the chaos. I thrive in the
Not
chaos.
always rainbows and butterflies. It's compromise.
Get rid of the FBI?
Yeah, I would shut it down, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, Jesus.
You ready to have an open? You're an
I'm
open-minded
listening.
guy.
I'm
You're an
listening.
I know you. You'll listen. So that's why I'm bothering with this, right? By the way, I have a book recommendation for you before I get to it. G-Man, Government Man. It's the history of the FBI. J. Edgar Hoover's History of the FBI. You read that book, that will already open your heart and mind to the argument I'm about to make.
I'm already reading a book about cross-dressers, so I can't.
Okay, well,
No, I'm
this
kidding,
can come
but no.
next.
Hoover.
Okay, go ahead.
Cross-dressers are important too. But the gist is this.
What was this,
The
filmed
FBI
on a
is failed
potato?
institution. It is at once politicized, corrupt, and has been in many ways designed to be corrupt. J. Edgar Hoover designed it that way. The same FBI that threatened Martin Luther King with suicide, blackmailing him over incorrectly collected tapes, is now targeting its domestic terrorists for people who show up at concerned parents of school board meetings. So in some ways, it's
That's
built in
coming
by
from
design.
the FBI?
Yeah, it's coming from the FBI. Now, here's an
Bill
answer
Maher knows
to this,
that.
okay?
That's Vivek.
At the local level, you've got
Ramaswamy.
local cops and you've got local prosecutors. You don't have a separate bureaucracy sitting in between. Well, now let's talk about the federal level. You've got the U.S. Marshals, and then you've got the DOJ. The DOJ has its issues, but I think the president can reform that through good appointments. You don't need the separate bureaucracy sitting in between. So I'll walk you through the math, because I know you like details for this to be credible.
Well, certainly for this issue.
Yeah, for this issue, right? Because you brought it up. 35,000 employees at the FBI. 20,000 of them report into work at the J. Edgar Hoover building. Still, they celebrate his legacy. The J. Edgar Hoover building of the FBI they walk into.
In
That's the
Washington.
bureaucratic rot. That's in D.C.
So you're saying 20,000 of
20,000
the
of them
35,000
can go home.
FBI men
Should
work
go
in
home.
Washington in the same... They fit 20,000 people in one building?
I mean, it's a giant building.
20,000 people? Work in that
I don't know.
building?
I don't know how many of them show up in the post-COVID era for Zoom or whatever, and they have field offices.
Well, that is a big building.
But I'm saying are in back office functions. 15,000 of them are frontline agents. These are good people doing investigative work on drug crimes or sex trafficking or whatever it
Right.
may be. They're not specialized at the FBI. So I've offered, if I may say it myself, unprecedented detail on how to get this done. Those 15,000 moved some of them to the U.S. Marshals, which have been far more effective at fighting child trafficking rings than the FBI. move some of them to the DEA, which has been far more effective on the front lines of the fentanyl epidemic than has been
If
the
you're going to
FBI.
get rid of an agency, why don't you get rid of that one? The DEA.
Well, actually, the investigative crime. I mean, we have laws in this country, so you can debate whether you like the laws or not. But I'm saying as long as you have the laws, we're talking about effectiveness here. And my point is the FBI is broken. Take financial crimes.
So you're saying the 20,000 people who work in Washington, they are all superfluous?
I can't tell you that every one of them to the last T is, but I've got 4 years to first term. I got to move quickly.
Yeah, I think you just.
And so I say chop it off, shut down the FBI, move them to the U.S. Marshals, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network at the U.S. Treasury, to the Secret Service, which handles some financial crime as well, and then to the DEA.
Okay,
That's the answer.
so here's something the FBI was involved with. So I'm asking who would handle this.
Yes.
Say an allied country like Australia.
Yep.
Has a tip, and we trust that they are an ally and the person is credible.
Yep.
And
Well, the answer to that question was going to be the Central Intelligence Agency anyway. But any thoughts there, Maverick? What happened to the Nevins?
I just gave him a break for a little bit. I don't know what. I thought that was from like the 80s when I first was watching that video.
Yeah, that was a low-res pick, but... very interesting guy, Vivek. He's come onto the scene. I don't think anybody really know who he was. There's a lot of people who are really interested. This new outsider with some very loud and interesting perspectives. And there's other people who think he's a plant. He was a Soros-funded plant. He was on MSNBC and all this other stuff. I have very strong opinions on this, but I'd like to hear yours first.
Oh, no, I was going to say, go ahead.
No, I got very strong opinions.
I heard he's actually suing for that rumor, the Soros rumor, because it's not true at all.
It's true by proxy. It was like a foundation that gives out scholarships, and the foundation got funding through George Soros. But George Soros funds everything. George Soros has Trump ties. The Soros family is involved in everything political, good, bad, and in between. Mostly bad. But here's the thing: the FBI, all right, is a remarkably corrupt organization. The amount of times, my big thing when it comes to whether it's conspiracy theories, the CIA, the FBI. Well, that happened then. Yeah, maybe they were involved in killing Kennedy. Maybe they were involved in killing, but that was then. Oh, like they've reformed. So as they've gotten more powerful, right? Everybody knew who J. Edgar Hoover was. Nobody knows who the head of the FBI is now. No, nobody. You could walk down the street, and it would take you 1,000 people before one person know. You can't. We don't vote on them. We have zero accountability. They can make up laws. They can do whatever they want. There's so many ways that the government can just get you now. They're adding 80,000 IRS agents. That's federal. You already, like they said, the U.S. Marshals. You got the DEA. You have the CIA. You got the Homeland Security. You got NHS. You've got who else am I missing here? Right? I mean, how many of these agencies do you have to have? How many of these foot soldiers does our government need? And it all comes back to Operation Paperclip. Operation Paperclip. The Nazis weren't defeated. They were assimilated. The CIA, the FBI, NASA, all founded with ex-Nazis. Highly involved. This is our Stasi, man. We should be, the FBI is a blemish on the mark of the American experiment. The FBI stands for everything this country was formed to avoid. There is nothing that the FBI has done that couldn't have been done at a local or state level. There's nothing the FBI has ever accomplished that justifies its existence. The FBI is here to suppress dissent. That's as anti-American as it can get. We are a country founded in sedition. I don't even think people know this. Jefferson Davis was the president of the Confederacy. When the Confederacy fell, all of Jefferson Davis's crimes were pardoned. The people that he fought against didn't think it was right to charge him or punish him for trying to secede from a nation, because that is how America was formed, through seceding from a nation. We are less understanding of sedition today than we were during the Civil freaking War. The Civil War, we held a better perspective than we do today. The FBI exists to suppress dissent in America. Martin Luther King Jr., he was fine when he was, black people deserve equal rights. All right. And we need to get out of Vietnam.
Yeah, Hoover was on his ass. He was on everybody's ass.
Need to get.
He's an interesting character too, Hoover. Since they were talking about him, he was like a closeted homosexual,
one of the most evil people of the
cross-dresser.
20th century.
But he like what was it? The Patriot Act that allowed people to start spying on everybody.
Mm-hmm.
He'd been doing that since he got in there. He had tapes and books and dossiers and documents on everybody. Mm-hmm. He's like a peeper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he used it for leverage. He used it for money. He used it to get what he wanted. He call it what it, that there's a word for
and
that.
And he hid it behind what were they called? The
Redacted?
McCarthyism.
Oh yeah.
What was McCarthyism?
The,
after? Was it not communism?
The House on Un-American Activities.
Who's McCarthy after?
Communism.
It was communism.
Anti-communist.
Yeah, that's what he used a lot too. He used that also but also use it to take it a step further.
Blackmail's illegal. Even if the cops do it, it's illegal.
Sure.
Blackmail's illegal. Is there anything about the FBI existing that makes you feel safer as an American?
I think the tricky part is, because I'm not denying the grand amount of, what's the word? It's escaping me.
Corruption, avarice.
Yeah. It's fucked. But they do some positive work when he was explaining like the sex trafficking and like trying to get a hold of the fentanyl crisis that's happening right now. So ICE mostly manages trafficking, which is why when people are like abolish ICE, you're like, they're really the boots on the ground and the people behind the desks that are stopping trafficking more than a lot of places. And then you can say, well, maybe we privatize it because there's some really great organizations that do that. I have no idea, but I feel like those two things feel important. But then you also have like the Epstein stuff, and you're like, well, it's rumored that he was, an informant.
An FBI asset.
So then what do you mean? And then when there was the hearings about January 6th, they were asking like, did you have any agent provocateurs involved? And she's like, I can't answer that. You're like, wait, what do you mean you can't answer that? That's illegal. If anyone else were to do any of that stuff, you would put them in jail.
Yeah,
so
by
why
not
is it
answering,
okay?
you're answering too.
Also, right.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can't answer that. I'm happy to tell you behind the scenes. No, motherfucker, you don't get to do that. This is the United States of America. Once the cameras are away, I'm happy to talk to you, Senator. He said that 5 times.
Well, then, so do you not believe in the Fifth, then, being able to plead the Fifth?
Of course I do.
So
But
then-
that's a public official.
Yeah.
That's a public official. The Fifth Amendment is about me not self-incriminating. That was a hearing on what happened. That's a public accountability hearing. The public official cannot say, I can't be held publicly accountable. I'll talk to you afterwards, Senator. That's not how this works. We don't live in a two-tiered aristocratic oligarchy. Like, okay, listen, guys. I'll tell you guys later. But these people, at home, they don't need to hear this shit. That'd be bad for me, man. Right. Yeah, no shit. That's the whole point of the hearing, man. The whole point of the hearing is for us to understand what happened. Because people are going away for 15, 16, 17 years. Scott Fairlawn, who we had on our show, went away for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And he's telling me that he's telling us that there was provocateurs on the ground trying to get this thing going. There was pipe bombs. We don't know who the pipe bombs were. Why were the pipe? We deserve to know. We deserve to know what's going on in Maui. Because it's fishy when you don't know. And if you tell us that conspiracy theories are the most dangerous thing, the biggest threat to our democracy is conspiracy theorists, then quell the conspiracies through evidence. But the less you tell us, the more the conspiracy theorists go, and we have to listen to them. We have to be like, shit, these guys are putting their point forward. What's your point? The more clandestine you guys are, the less we can trust you. And it's like, I'm going to circle all the way back to what I said in the beginning. How many times do these people have to lie before we just stop trusting them? They've been lying for decades. Lie after lie after lie after lie. They get caught, and then they brush it aside, and then they ostracize anybody who tries to hold them accountable. So I think they got to go. I don't think anybody would miss
You
them.
think it should be disbanded?
Yeah, I think the biggest reason so many Washington bureaucrats fight to maintain their jobs is, one, because they're very high paying and they're very powerful, but two, they know for a fact that nobody would miss them if they were gone. As soon as somebody cut out 25% of this gluttonous, slutty pig of a federal government that we had, we wouldn't even notice it.
America, you slut.
America, you slut. Denmark, no, not Denmark, the Netherlands operated for, I think, 9 months without a functioning government. No problem. Catalan, Spain, I think it was 2 years. 2 years the government was a gridlock. Nobody cared. We don't need 90% of this shit. 90% of this stuff is pure grift.
Yeah.
90% of this stuff
Bureaucratic
is
bullshit.
just bureaucratic, self-licking ice cream cone shit. Right? It exists for its existence.
Yeah.
We need 10%. We need somebody with a fucking key and another person with a key and a big red button in the middle, and that's like 50% of what our government should be.
Sure.
You know? We'll call them the go team. The rest of this shit can be held at. We got local cops, we got state cops, we got county cops, we got federal cops that are 1, 2, 3,
Lot of
4, 5, 6.
redundancy.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways. Like, there's a lot of different rungs on this ladder. If we took out half of them, nobody would know the difference. And they know. So, there's my...
Speaking of differences, there's a lot of differences in like ways we live here, ways people live elsewhere. Check this shit out.
Children do you have?
84.
84.
Yeah.
What?
Congratulations.
Thank you. 70 wife, my.
17 wives.
Yes.
That's a lot of wives.
Yeah.
I have one wife, which is enough.
One?
He can understand.
It's the funniest thing he ever heard. So one of my favorite things about this clip is this guy has 17 wives, has 84 kids. The reporter goes to him, yeah, I have one wife. And he's like,
Nerd.
he's like, wait, what? One wife? What do you even mean? Like he can't even like conceptualize that. You know what I mean? Which is it's hilarious also where, you know, where we grow up, do you know anyone with 2 wives?
Yeah,
You do?
I do. Yeah,
Of course you would.
I do.
You know anyone with 2 wives?
I only knew one person who had 2 wives, and neither of them was happy to find out about it when he died. Didn't work out well.
I know people that have multiple wives, and everyone knows it's all above board.
Yeah, what are they, Mormon?
No.
Just on some player shit?
No, it's just like they chose to like live a poly lifestyle. So they,
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, they're poly, and they're really successful. Like
I bet. You got to be a little successful to keep that shit.
Well, I think that's probably why
Floating.
this
Keep that
man
boat
found
floating.
it so funny. So within their culture, you can only have as many wives as you can support. So it's almost like I've got so much that I can have 17 wives. Like you don't have anything, which is why you have one. So it's kind of a flex. Like you have to be able to financially support number 1 and 17 equally.
Yeah, right. But I bet like when he's like and you have to treat them all the same too. But I bet like when he's in bed with like wife number like 11, he's like, you know, I like you better than these other ones. And then when he's in there with 13, he's like, you know, I love you.
You're
the
my
best.
number one.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, I gotta treat it all the same, but like, you know, you're my baby.
I knew dude was on some other shit when he had to wear crutches from doing so much of the baby making.
Oh yeah, he
That pelvis
blew
is
that back
busted.
out. He blew that back out.
He's laughing at the
Blew
dude. He's
his
also
back
like my
out.
crutches. He did. He's like he got literal
Blew his
back
own
shots.
back out.
Yeah, I mean, dude, 84 kids. If you got 84 kids, man, I want to see him go. You gotta hit the century mark. You gotta keep.
Oh yeah, man.
keep
Let's
it going.
16 more.
You gotta go.
Come on. What's
Come
16
on, bro.
at this point? You got 17 wives.
Let's go.
Come on.
Yeah, let's do it. I like it. That reminds me of one of my favorite shows, Invincible. What's 17 more years? I can make another kid.
Yeah.
You haven't seen Invincible? Mick wasn't a fan of it.
Gerard likes cartoons. I'm like, you're almost 40. I felt like I was too old for cartoons when I was 6.
You're closer to 40 than you are to 20, buddy.
I guess that's technically true.
Shit.
Barely.
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 Man, I don't know. 17 wives. Oof, man. That.
I'm closer to my 20s than I am to my 40s. How about that, motherfucker?
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. I'm
You're
31.
Closer, oh, you're closer to your 20s than you are. Ah, I got you. Okay. So words matter. Semantics.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could handle 17 wives. That sounds almost like torture more than heaven. Could you be one of 17 wives?
No, I don't think. No. Mm-mm.
There's got to be a hierarchy that forms. There's got to be like the wife and then the sister wives, don't you think?
I don't know enough about that culture or religion. It was my understanding that it has to be even across the board.
Really?
Yeah.
Can't be even.
Well, no, because we're all humans, so we have different relationships.
Tell me about
It's
your
not
poly
measurable.
friend.
Well, Christopher Ryan's one. He's not like married, but he's poly, so he's always had. And then the other.
So he's got like, does he have like a main girl and then like
So
another
typically,
girl,
what
or
happens
three
is you
main
have
girls?
you have your main wife or your main girlfriend,
Your main
and,
bitch.
and then the rest are called paramours. So like they're secondary, and then there's like this recipe. I don't know if it was him or
But in Muslim, they have to all be even, right?
Yes.
That was, okay.
yeah. So I think it's more
Half
like
your age plus 7.
Western that has like more of a hierarchy.
Okay.
But they say if you're going to approach polyamory, that the paramour cannot be monogamous to the couple. Like the paramour also has to have her own or his own, I don't know, side piece or like main person. Because if they're single, that's when a lot of drama happens within the relationship. I don't know. I've never been poly, so that's not my jam.
Well, isn't that what broke up Paula Patton and Robin Thicke back in the day? They had a mutual agreement to have a threesome with the massage therapist, and then she walked in on the two of them having sex, and that like ended the marriage. And
Well, then there's also.
I'm sitting here going like, that's, he was already having sex with her. You were just there.
Yeah.
I don't like.
Well, no, that's not the
different,
same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's more
no.
intimate.
There's
and
also
sneakier.
trust, and everyone has their own boundaries
Trust.
within whatever relationship that you have. Like you have the rules of engagement. It's not the same for everybody.
Yeah, G. Get with it.
Sorry, I don't know.
Also, the rules are an illusion, right? Like we try to clip people's wings or put them in this really pretty cage, and like I love you, little bird, I love you, but don't go out of this cage. Like everything is an illusion, and I feel like the tighter those restraints are, the more you are going to force your other person out there, because it's like love is supposed to be freedom. Now, whatever rules you decide, I totally honor and respect. So if those rules are traditional monogamy, then you need to adhere to that. Like you need to adhere to like those like your bounds of your relationship and your marriage. But I think that by trying to control your partner, it's if they're going to cheat, they're going to cheat, and everything else is just an illusion. So you can love from like an open, honest place where you have trust, like real fundamental trust, or you can be like, show me your phone, show me your text, show me all your passwords. That's not love. That's not trust. That's not freedom. So you have
it's
to
like
give
a parole officer.
Yeah, you have to give your partner all of the freedom. And it's like with all of that freedom, is he going to act with like respect, honor, and show up, right? Like I'm going to give you the world. Now, what you decide to do with that will show me everything I need to know about our relationship. Me forcing it doesn't. Like that's me having this relationship in a vacuum, and then also it's just a big lie. So if I lock you in a cage, of course you're going to behave. But if I give you everything and you still just come back to me, then that shows me all the security I need.
I think we just figured out why Western women are addicted to authoritarian regimes. And with that,
Despite all my rage,
I'm still just a rat in the cage. That's Mick. That's Candace. I'm Gerard, and we will see you next week on Canceled Weekly.